Hey there and welcome back. So in the previous video we set up the workflow for GitHub so we can use the actions features to create a pipeline that will, when we commit code to this repository, it's going to run our workflow, and we can see from our main YAML file in the GitHub workflows directory that we created a test job that tested on Node version 14, because this is what our REST API is working on, and then it was installing all the Node dependencies and running the test. We also set up some env environment variables in GitHub so we can set the database host for our test, and also the token secret, and also the JSON Web Token expiring. Next up is that we have a completed workflow here. We can see that it passed the test. And the next thing is that we should create a deployment job. So whenever our code has passed the test, we should deploy it to Heroku. And we already have an app here. Let's just see if we can find our app here. Let's log into Heroku. So if we go to the dashboard of Heroku, we can see we have an app here called REST API. And we already have an app here on Heroku, and it is instructed to run the npm start and everything. And furthermore, we also in the settings have set up configuration variables that maps to our database host and the token secret and the JVT expiring. So whenever we commit to Heroku, the app is going to function because it has these configuration vars that map to the environment variables. But we need to set up this job that will tell GitHub to deploy this automatically on Heroku. We create a new, let's just collapse the test job here, and let's make a new. Oh. Let's make a new job here. Let's just go down here and let's call this deploy. And again, it should have a name. Let's call this deploy. And we can put a constraint on this so that it will need the test job to pass. So whenever, if the test job does not pass, then it's not going to run this deployment. And that is a nice thing to do, because if we have code that does not pass the test, we don't really want to deploy it. Okay, so we specify runs on Ubuntu latest. And then we have a couple of steps as we had in the test job. So the first step is we will name this checkout, just like with the other one. And it's going to use this, again, the actions, the built-in action to check out a repository. We're going to say the same, that it should check out with a depth of 0, so we get everything there. Then we specify a new name, and let's just call this add remote origin to Heroku, because we need to specify this URL that we can push to, so we push our code to Heroku. And then we run a command. We run git remote add Heroku. And now we need to specify a couple of secrets, just like we did with our test. So we're going to specify first HTTPS, because we need to specify the path to Heroku. And then we need to specify the secret first. Let's just put the placeholder in here. So the secret is going to be called Heroku API key, because we need to authorize GitHub to Heroku so that GitHub will be allowed to push code to Heroku. And so we need to have the API key, and we're going to generate this in just a minute. And then we write add git Heroku.com, and then we specify another secret and that's going to be called Heroku app name. So that's just basically the name of the app we created in Heroku. .git. Right, so we have a URL that we are constructing here, Heroku, and then a secret called API key at git.heroku.com, and then another secret called the app name. Right, so then we need to have just another step. Let's call this deploy, go to Heroku. And we're going to run a command just like we did with the test. We're going to run git push, then we're going to run Heroku main. So we will run the git push command. So we will push our code from the main branch to our Heroku remote URL, and that will trigger Heroku to also deploy the REST API in there. Okay, so how do we get these two, Heroku API key and Heroku app name? The way we do this is that if we run a terminal here, if you have the Heroku CLI, you need to have Heroku CLI installed. So you can get this, if you search on the internet for that, then it's going to send you to the Heroku CLI, download and install. You can get the CLI for all major operating systems. And then we run a command called Heroku Authorizations create. So Heroku Authorizations : create. Then we can see that Heroku will create an OAuth authorization, and it's going to create a token, and we're going to copy this token, and then we go back to our GitHub repo and go to the settings, because we need to create a new secret. We create a secret here, and we're just going to create a new repository secret. We call this Heroku API key, Heroku API key, and then copy our token in here, add the secret. So we can see that we have the Heroku API key here, and we also need to add the Heroku app name. So repository secret, we will add a new one called app name. And the app name is, we can find this in our Heroku dashboard. We can see SMSJ men REST API. We can copy this app name there. It's also right here. We can copy it there. Then we go back to the secret and post it in here, add secret. Right, so we have the Heroku API key, Heroku app name that we need in our workflow file here. So we're adding the origin there. So let's see what happens if we commit the code. So what should happen now is that it should run the test, and if the test passes, it should afterwards deploy it to Heroku. Okay, let's close the terminal and let's run workflow file with new job. And let's finally push this to GitHub. Let's head over to our actions. Let's see what happens here now. It should trigger a new workflow run here. We can see updated workflow file with new job. And now we can see that we connected this deployment job to our tests. So they are connected now, and the deployment depend on the test. So it's going to run the test, and the test passes because it passed just before. Let's see what happens with the deployment then. Then we can click on our deployment. It's just queuing the deployment. Yeah, so we can see we actually got an error here. Objects were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. So usually this is because I already have deployed this once to this app here. But you can see there are previous deployment there. The way we can handle that is that we can use the command force that will force Git to push it to Heroku. Usually you should not have to do this because usually you will have a new Heroku app, but I already have some code here at the moment, so this is why GitHub is complaining a little bit about it, that the remote already contains work that we don't have locally. Okay, so let's put this force to the command there. Let's just add, and let's do a commit. Let's push it again here. So we head back to our actions here. We can see that we have a new updated workflow. It's going to run the test. So let's click on the deployment here. It's going to start the workflow run. So now we can see that it is deploying it to Heroku now. It is this is the output from Heroku, that it's installing the binaries for Node that we specified, and also npm, and it is installing the modules dependencies from package.json, and it has completed the build here now. Okay, and then some post checkout. But now we can see that if we click on the actions, we have a successfully deployed app here. We have tested it, and because the test passed, then we also deployed it to Heroku. And if we go to you can see here our app. Just now we deployed a new version of our app. We can go to open up the app over here, and it's going to say cannot get here because this is the root. So if we go to API /products, could be, then we have a remote deployed version of our API, and we can also see that we have Swagger running on the remote API here, so we can also use that to test our API. Okay, so we have created a workflow that will allow us to test our code, and if it passes, then we have constrained the deployment so that it will only deploy if our tests are passing. Okay, so in the next video I will do a bit short follow-up on what we've been doing here, and then also some further extension and improvements we can do. Okay, so thanks for watching and hope you make this work, and bye-bye.